Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Good afternoon, people. Hello once again and welcome to Monday. Yes, it's true. Would I lie to you? Well, maybe. But even if I did lie to you, it'd only be a little white lie. Nothing major. Anyway, let's not get off topic. As I was saying, before some of you started to make disgraceful accusations regarding my tendency to tell the odd porky now and then. Have you heard that one before? A porky, or in the plural, porkies. It's just an informal British word for a lie. It comes from a rhyme on the second part of the compound noun. Okay, now the reasons why we sometimes use porky to mean lie are connected to the compound noun pork pie. And what's a pork pie? Well, it's a pie, a savoury pie. It's savoury, not sweet. So, it tastes more of salt than sugar. It's a type of pastry, so a type of food which is made from dough. And what's dough? Well, dough is the mixture of flour and some sort of liquid, water a lot of the time, that we bake to get bread or, in this case, to get pastries. Think about the difference between a croissant and a loaf of bread. The dough we use to make croissants and bread is different, but it's still dough. Okay, so a pie can be sweet or it can be savoury, and pork pies are savoury, not sweet. This is a case, a container made of pastry, which is baked and then filled with pork, the meat we get from dead pigs. So we know that we can have apple pies and cherry pies and, oh, I don't know, pecan pies, and in Florida there's that famous key lime pie, which is also very nice, but, well, a bit too sweet for me. Those are sweet pies, but pork pies are savoury. When you go to a party, there are sometimes snacks in little bowls on tables and things like that. Now, if this is a children's party, then possibly most of the snacks will be sweet, things made out of chocolate, for example. But at a party for adults, it's more usual to find savoury snacks, things which aren't sweet but savoury. Olives, peanuts, crisps, cheese crackers. These are all the sort of normal savoury snacks that people often offer you at parties. Now, how did we get here? Oh yes! Sweet things and savoury things. Pork pies. All right. So we can have sweet pies, but this pie, this pork pie, isn't sweet, it's savoury. If we describe a food as being savoury, it could be spicy or salty, but it's not sweet, it's savoury. Okay, so a pork pie, something which looks like this. Okay, now, because of the similarities in shape, we also have pork pie hats, something like this. Okay, so a pork pie, and because it sort of looks the same, a pork pie hat. Okay, but how do we get from pork pie to lie? Well, you probably just heard the rhyme, didn't you? Pie and lie rhyme, don't they? Yes, the two words have a similar sound. Pie, lie. That's all. Because the second part of the compound noun sounds the same as lie, people started to use the word as a synonym, a slang or informal synonym for a lie. And from there, we ended up with a situation where someone who is lying is telling porkies. They're telling porky pies. They're telling porkies. They're lying. All right, now, what about the idea of a compound noun? Well, first of all, let's think about what a compound is. What's a compound when it's at home? A compound is something which is made up of two or more elements. It's a mixture. Think about a chemical compound, for example. Think about water. What's water made of? Well, yes, that's right. H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. Water is a compound, a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. Think about all the chemicals that you learnt about in your chemistry lessons. H2SO4, that's another one that I remember, and that one is sulfuric acid, isn't it? We also have hydrochloric acid, HCl, again, another compound, another mixture, another combination of two or more elements which make a third element. Okay. Now, we also sometimes hear people talking about a university compound or a military compound, but that's a bit of a false friend. The two words are the same, but they're not actually connected. When we think about a compound, as in a chemical compound, then we're using a word which came from Latin and travelled through French before being picked up by the British. It's the idea of componere, the idea of put together. The second idea comes from Malay, travelling through either Portuguese or Dutch, and the idea is of an enclosure, an area which is surrounded by a barrier, like a fence, for example. Okay, so back to the first idea, the idea of a compound being something we made from other things. So, we know about chemical compounds, we know about other mixtures. The air smelled like a compound of turnips and cauliflower. Okay, so what about compound nouns? Well, what about them? All this is a word which is made up of two or more other words. Think about the word bath. Now think about the word room. Now, put them together and think about the compound noun bathroom. Simple, no? Yes. And can we think of some other simple compound nouns? Why, yes, of course we can. Think of a grandfather and think of a clock. And then we have a grandfather clock. So that's just another example of a compound noun. And let's face it, there are plenty of them about. We use them all the time, and most of the time we don't even think about the fact that these words are made up of other nouns. Toilet brush, toothbrush, toilet bowl, shaving mirror, hairdryer, armpit. Yes, think about that one. I'm forever banging on about people smelling like a homeless dinosaur's armpit, aren't I? And the word armpit is a compound noun, formed from the noun arm, the thing, the limb which connects our hand to our shoulder, and pit, the idea of a sunken area or a hole. So those are just some examples of compound nouns, nouns we make using other nouns joined together. Kneecap, that's another. Eyeball, eyelid, butterfly, fireman, binman. There are loads of them. All right, enough about compound nouns. The fourth mega revision has finished, and here we are once more, ready to get started on the present perfect. Now, cast your minds back. And yes, when I use the verb to cast, I'm thinking of the idea of the verb to throw. So throw your minds back. Cast your minds back to before the start of the fourth mega revision. Do you all remember what we were looking at? Yes? No? No matter. It's not important because I'm going to show you anyway. Here are some sentences which we saw a while back, and the problem is that we didn't have enough time to finish them. So we left these sentences uncompleted, unfinished, and now is the perfect time to complete them. Now I know that it's been a while, but let's have a bash at them, shall we? All right, that's what I like to hear. All right, so as we all remember, when we saw these sentences, we were looking at the present perfect tense connected to four words: already, just, still, and yet. Okay, so do we all remember those four words? Do we all remember what they mean and when we use them? Well, let's run over them once more just to make sure, okay? So, already. What's that one all about, eh? Well, as I'm sure you all remember, already communicates, expresses, gives the idea of by now or sooner than expected. So, we might see the adverb already used in a conversation like this. Mum, can I go out and play with my friends? You can't go out with your friends until you've done your chores. Okay, see you later. I've already done my chores. All right, well done you. You finished your chores, the things you have to do, before your mum expected you to. When your friends came round, you had already finished your chores before the time when they arrived, before the time your mum expected you to. Okay, so that's already. What's next? Just. Okay. Well, we all remember this, don't we? This word has got lots of meanings. When we think about just as an adjective, then just is something which is morally right. Just is something which is appropriate. Just is something which is well-founded. Okay, but here we're not using just the adjective, are we? No. Here we're using just as an adverb. Okay, but just the adverb also has more than one meaning. We can use just to mean exactly, for example. Ooh, that's just the colour I was looking for. Just can mean by a little. I overslept this morning. I only just managed to catch my train. Just can mean simply, only, or no more than. She's just interested in making money, nothing else. All right, now let's forget about the other meanings of just and concentrate on the one we want. Okay, so the meaning that we want to concentrate on is the idea of very recently, in the recent past. I've just seen Elvis leaving the pub. I'm looking for Elvis. Have you seen him? Oh, you've just missed him. He's just left. Okay, what next? Still? Still means that something is continuing. Still tells us that something hasn't stopped. When we use still as an adverb, we're communicating that something continues or continued up to the present or the time that we're talking about. He's 53 and he still lives with his parents. It was still raining when I got home. All right, and what about the last one? The last one of the bunch, yet. What about yet? Well, with yet, we're talking about something that is expected or has not happened up until the present or a specified time. I haven't told my wife yet. Have you done your chores yet? Now, did you notice anything special about those two examples? Yes, that's right. When we use yet, we only use it in questions or with negative sentences. All right, so we now all remember that already means that we're talking about something which happened before we expected. Just shows that we're talking about something which happened in the very recent past. Still shows that something continues up to the present or the time we're talking about. Yet, which we use in questions and negative sentences, tells us that we're dealing with something up until the present or a stated time. And that's all the time that we've got for you today. Yes, it's true, no porkies here. The time for our lesson is slowly coming to a close, and it's time for us to part once more. But don't fret, I'll be back tomorrow and we'll get stuck into those sentences, all right? Okay, so until tomorrow, have fun. I'll see you all again tomorrow. I'll be the one on this side of the screen, okay? All right, people, have fun whatever you get up to. I've got to head off home and have a coffee. And as for you lot, well, you'd better have a look around the house or flat and see if you can see anything that needs doing. Perhaps a little light dusting? Maybe it's time to hoover the flat or brush the dog. I don't know, you do. But remember, whatever you get up to, turn the music on and try to have as much fun as you can while you're doing what you're doing. I'll see you all tomorrow. See you later. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye!